Married people of Reddit, what was your first impression of your spouse? We found each other on Tinder. Yes, I'm aware we were using it wrong. I ran into him on the way to the restaurant we were supposed to meet at, and the first thing I thought was, wow, he looks so much better than his profile pics. Thank God he can't use a camera well, or else he'd probably be snatched up already. Wow, that guy is cute and quiet. He's so mysterious. I have to talk to him. My husband and I met working in a bookstore. I asked him if he ever talked. He looked me in the eye, nodded, then walked away. I was hooked. Wow, that guy is cute and quiet. He's so mysterious. I have to talk to him. My husband and I met working in a bookstore. I asked him if he ever talked. He looked me in the eye, nodded, then walked away. I was hooked. I thought he was an ex-convict. He's super muscular, tattoos covering every inch of his body, all around just a very threatening-looking guy. He came up to me and told me, "I think you're adorable. Can I have your number?" I was petrified because I have never dated or attracted anyone of this type, but he charmed me. Turns out he's a huge softie with a goofy personality. He cracks up at the smallest things. He loves sweets like a little kid, getting tucked in at night, and is scared of the dark. I love him to bits. The very first impression was pleasantly surprised. For context, it was my first day at my first student job, and my boss was showing me around and introducing me to everyone by going to all office rooms, one after the other. My now husband was in the very last room, and I was warned that that team was a bit special, mainly because of their very direct and sometimes weird, harsh sense of humor. What surprised me was his hair color, as my now husband was the only one in this department of 50 people with brightly colored hair. So while I didn't get to talk to him much that day, I remembered him for his hair color alone. It took us a few more weeks getting into contact and to eventually start dating. Last weekend was our 10-year anniversary, and 3rd wedding anniversary, and he still rocks his brightly colored hair. 3. I thought he was so cool. We had talked online for a few days, but it wasn't until I saw him walking towards me when we met for our first date that I realized he was way out of my league. Luckily he thought the same thing about me. I was a bartender and he was one of the first to get a drink from me that day, so I didn't think much. I was still trying to screw my head on and jump into the shift. He kept coming back though. Not always to get a drink, sometimes just to stand near my bar while I made drinks. His friend brought him there for his birthday, yet he spent most of his time with me. Once I noticed him, I thought he was a lovable dork. I needed to have a conversation with him where I could be myself and not in working mode. Electric blue eyes that you can see from across the room, wicked good sense of humor, confident, so attractive, love his freckles. I felt drawn to him like a magnet, and literally had an almost overwhelming urge to rub my face on him like a cat, which totally freaked me right out. I immediately texted my sister and asked if that had ever happened to her because I felt like such a weirdo. She screenshotted the convo and saved it. Now she sends it to me every year on that date. When I first saw her, I thought she's hot and way out of my league. After mutual flirting and going on a date, I thought she was smart, funny, attractive, and still out of my league. Being married for 5 years, nothing has changed. I still think she's out of my league. Swear to God, it was exactly like the first time he sees Maria in West Side Story. The entire rest of the room went blurry and she was the only person I could focus on, and I just went wow. I made up my mind to talk to her, rudely butted into whatever conversation she was having by saying I have relatives in Sacramento, and she luckily thought I was cute. Being married 13 years now. My first impression was actually mild disappointment and the thought that we weren't compatible because he wasn't laughing at my jokes. In retrospect, I realized that at our first meeting, my now husband was literally dumbstruck. He was like those cartoons where their jaw dropped and they couldn't say anything coherent. When I first met my wife, I was convinced she'd simply get up and leave the date. As time went on, I realized she was nervous and had a terrible self-image despite being drop-dead gorgeous. It took me weeks to realize she thought I would walk out on her. We're rapidly approaching 10 years of marriage. She thought I was a creep when I said hello. I was just looking for someone to spend a few days with while on vacation. We were both single travelers in a hostel. Wasn't the first time I was single traveling, usually managed to get a group together within a few days. Not this time, we ended up spending the entire vacation together, just the two of us, not immediately attracted to each other. But we got talking and 6 hours later we were the only two left around the pool of the hostel and exchanged numbers and went to sleep, separate. Thinking WTF just happened. Not married yet, but living together and engaged. I was working at a restaurant that happened to have a mostly female staff and had a recent string of not-so-great male servers. One was caught stealing, another one was a perv, and the another was just a tool. So one shift when an older waitress was training this new hire and said how good-looking the new trainee was like Zac Efron, I kind of rolled my eyes and did not have high hopes. Sure enough, when I went to introduce myself, I did notice he was admittedly good-looking and actually very polite with a deep voice. We got married 6 years later. Not my type. Our first ever meeting was at a movie night of a mutual friend. We didn't even speak as far as I remember. It wasn't until about a year later she showed up at a party in the local youth club where I was bartending that we got to chatting. Tried putting the moves on her, but didn't seem like it was working. Same mutual friend as the movie night then nudged us together over the next week. Dude, I swear. He's into you. And here we are 10 years together, 4 years married and 2 kids later. I was at a Halloween party in my early 20s. Almost every girl at the party was dressed up as a sexy something. The woman who is now my wife was dressed up in a full-body black robe with face paint, carrying a red lightsaber that I accidentally broke while playing around at the end of the night. I'm extremely lucky that she agreed to go on a date after that. Haha, I completely ignored him. We both played an online game and he was in the same guild I was in. He entered my ventrilo room and was trying to ask me a question regarding a character build. I completely shut him down and told him to go ask my boyfriend. I didn't know he was the one I did that to until we decided to be a couple after my breakup with the ex. Completely not my type. Never in a million years thought I'd fall so hard for him. We met 5 years before we started dating, so I was a very different person and so were my priorities. He was silly and light-hearted, and I didn't perceive him as someone who could take anything seriously. We didn't seem to share many interests, and at that time I considered it a must for my partner to like the same things as me. I found his music annoying, as I was more of an elitist back then. We also came from very different backgrounds and cultures, so I couldn't relate to him much. Honestly, I barely even registered she was a girl. We have the summer arts program in my state. Part of it was that they took 4 saxophonists from the state. We were both selected. I met her, didn't really think much of it. She was just part of the quartet. I was really trying to date a girl from my high school, so most of my attention was focused there. We were friendly, but neither of us had any real attraction to the other. We ended up going to college at the same school, and that's where things picked up. This drunk bitch needs to stop stealing my cigarettes. She was a new student, foreign transfer, had a class with an acquaintance. He invited her because he thought she was hot, so she showed up to my apartment party. We're both tall gingers and foreign. I'm Irish, she's Scottish, so next thing I know we're on a beer pong team. After we lose I step out to smoke, she follows and steals like 4 out of my pack when I put it down. By the end of the night I was half infuriated and half enthralled. That feeling has remained. We didn't really meet or start dating until years after, but we ended up in the same freshman health class initially. I thought she was beautiful, but so loud. I'm pretty introverted, so it actually annoyed me to bits. Turned out that's my balance. I need that vocal and more outgoing spirit to yin my yang, otherwise I'd end up a pale and socially inept recluse. She is so fairy that she looked legit like a specter. She is the lightest woman I have ever seen, so fair that her eyebrows are nearly invisible. I thought it was too weird the first time I saw her, but then one night I saw her at a restaurant, club-type place, in a very dark blue dress but with her shoulders and legs very exposed, and she stood out so much. It was like she shone and radiated light like an angel due to her paleness. Then I immediately became attracted to her and eventually approached her at the bar. She said, "Oh hi, I know you. You work in the law firm next to where I work." First thing my now husband said to me was, "Did you know you have split ends?" So I did not have the best first impression. Apparently, for him, it was love at first sight, but his attempt at, complimenting my hair came out not quite right. We ended up going on our first date a year later. We originally met through mutual friends, and have been together now for over 7 years. Every once in a while I'll tease him about it by tossing my hair and asking if he thinks I have split ends. She was cute, but all of the guys in my social circle were trying to hook up with her, so I stayed away to keep drama to a minimum. Apparently that meant I talked to her like a human being, instead of an object to receive my penis, and she made the first move, and then there was a bunch of drama, but nothing of value was lost. We've been together for 11 years. He was just so jaw-droppingly, breathtakingly handsome, completely left me speechless. I tried to think of ways to strike up a conversation with him, but I was extremely nervous and he was so ridiculously out of my league. I felt the same way after being friends with him for years, though by that time we did figure out that we love to talk to each other for hours. Smiley, bubbly, smart, and sporty. We met in college and were friends for a few years before I fell for her. From the beginning, I always thought she was the coolest girl. We were the same major, it's how we met, and I always say that her sitting next to me on test day throughout the years is what got me through college. On her off time, I'd usually catch her around campus on one of the intramural teams or playing a pick-up game of something, always smiling and always cheerful. I really liked his voice. It was deep and sexy. He was also taller than I expected and his hair was different from his photos, in a good way, making him look even more handsome. He was also more shy, or maybe shy is not the right word, maybe more genuine than most men I've been out with. Our first date felt really easy and natural. I felt safe, comfortable, and time just flew by. Instant, heart-stopping attraction. We couldn't keep our eyes off each other all night. Every time I'd try to steal a glance, she was staring at me with a huge smile. When we hugged at the end of the evening, after exchanging numbers, I wrapped my arm around her waist and we both felt the electricity. We'll be celebrating 20 years of marriage this November and that attraction has only gotten more intense over the years. So my wife is extremely attractive. When I first saw her, I was on a lunch break and did not expect to see her, as in, I did not expect to see someone so attractive. I was flabbergasted and my mind just went blank. It was wild, still is, really, and every day I feel crazy because I can't wait to get home already. Ugh. I wish I could leave work now and speed on home. I'd known my wife for a while the first time we met in real life. We'd been friends for almost 2 years, and had a kind of online fling for a couple of months. The evening after we met for the first time, I sent a text to my best friend, "This is the one, I'm marrying this girl." I was given the phone number of the wrong girl. Back in the day, we had several good conversations and had things in common, but when she opened her door for a first date I almost said, "Oh, it's you." Still super cute, unique, and we had fun. She's since done things with, for me, that other girlfriends probably wouldn't have done. She was quiet and somewhat reserved, almost like she was afraid of a crowd of people. After we spoke for just a few minutes I could tell she was very smart, and when she wrote her phone number on a sticky note for me her handwriting was beautiful. What a wonderful woman I've had the pleasure to have for my partner for over 50 years. I had a strict no dating Mormons rule. Difficult to manage where I live. I knew he was a Jack Mormon at best because we met at a party with booze, but it's the extended LDS families you have to deal with that are the problem. We'd hang out and he would not talk. Plenty of making out though. I figured he was just shy, but I'd known him to be plenty talkative with our friends. I later found out that he thought I was intimidating and was afraid to talk because I'd think he was stupid. I'm a sucker for beards and brown eyes though, and he wanted a big titty goth GF. So we stuck with it and realized how absolutely ideal we were for each other. We've been together for 10 years now and have never even had an argument, different than having an open and opposing discussion, so I guess we lucked out. Short and cute. I can appreciate the 90s punk vibe, and it is good to know that we have aligned interests. We met at a march protesting the attempted censorship and removal of books from our public library by some batshit crazy traditional family church. She was the friend of a friend that I was meeting up with. She was wearing a black graphic t-shirt with a V cut out in the neck, black jeans, a studded belt and a studded bracelet. As the tallest person, 5 feet 9 inches, in our group, I made a short joke and this punk punched me, playfully, in the arm. At the time, in addition to being the facilities supervisor, I would take the pictures of new employees and issue card keys, employee IDs on Thursdays. Only on Thursday. One Tuesday my manager told me we have a new employee from another office and she reports to some higher up in HQ or something, so I needed to get her a card key today. I told him no problem, I'll get her a temporary badge and take her picture on Thursday with everyone else. Nope, he said, get her a permanent badge today. I was pissed because I had to stop what I was doing, get all the equipment out, and set up the backdrop. So when I went to meet this new employee I wasn't thinking, oh, she's cute. I was thinking, here's this snooty bitch we have to bend over backwards for. Anyway, we've been married 25 years now. Not impressed. We'd met online and talked on the phone a couple of times before deciding to meet up in person. We met for dinner and then ended up going out for ice cream and for a walk at a nearby beach afterward. I found him attractive enough, but I was carrying most of the conversation. I couldn't tell if it was just him or if he just wasn't all that interested in me. The evening came to a close and, to my surprise, he asked to see me again. I was on the fence, but figured why not? I had nothing to lose. We went out again the next weekend and he was like a different guy, way more talkative and relaxed. We started dating regularly after that, were engaged a year later, married the year after that and celebrated our 15th anniversary in 2020. We have 2 great kids. He later confessed he was a nervous wreck on our first date because he was really interested in me and didn't want to screw it up. LOL. He was calmer on the second date because he figured out I was interested too and was able to be more himself. I just saw her at work one day. She was gorgeous and way out of my league, so when she said hi, I kinda did that awkward pursed lip smile of acknowledgement and kept working. I thought there was absolutely no way she would ever be interested in me. but just seeing her made me so happy. So my first impression was just, wow, she is beautiful. She will not like me. We've been married 4 years now. He had really long, curly brown hair and was pretty thin and well built. He looked like those old paintings of Jesus, so I had to do a double take. But in all honesty, I thought he was kind of a jerk. He's really blunt, was very passionate about his faith, so much so that I thought he was a Jehovah's Witness, and he just, I don't know, I found him annoying. We got to talking more on social media and things developed further from there.